Yo, what's up, guys? I'm Joel Hoffman. This is Underground Motivation, lifting people from rock bottom. I got sober training video number 4 coming for you guys. And lesson number 4 is about overcoming the temptation. And the first thing I'm going to need you guys to do in order to overcome temptation, you're going to have a why and a purpose. So your priorities and your goals, what we wrote down before, that's your why. Okay, so every time you start thinking and things get tough and you need to tap into that part of you, whenever you need to dig through and tap into some extra part of you, you need to tap into that why. So you have to think about your priorities. Maybe it's your kids, whatever the case may be, whatever priorities that you have of whatever you're doing. And then your goals, think about your goals. You got to have goals in order to get to the long-term solutions, because if not, you're just going to have these short stints, these short periods of doing good, and you're not going to do good for a long period of time because your subconscious mind is going to think that it's already where it needs to be. But if you have long-term goals, then you will have the energy to sustain that ongoing evolution of yourself. So these things are very important, and that's your why. So when it comes down to your purpose, guys, like that's a very big thing. And I completely understand if you don't know what your purpose is yet. That's completely understandable. But if you don't know what your purpose is yet, then make sure you let your purpose be to not let the pain ruin you, okay? You can't let that pain ruin you. That has to be at least your purpose, and that you have to know that you have a purpose. Even if you don't know what your purpose is yet, you have to believe that you have one. If you don't believe that you have a purpose and you're not relying on your why, then you're not going to have the backbone to sustain in the fight. You're going to give in, you're going to get beat whenever it comes to the fight, because whenever you start asking yourself the questions of why that you're doing this, you're going to have to rely on your why and your purpose, okay? So one thing as well, guys, is that you can't be average anymore. If you think like an average person, then you're not going to be successful in this thing, because the average person is going to say that it's okay to take pills from the doctor if you have anxiety, or it's okay to drink a 6-pack or drink, a bottle of wine at dinner. The average person is going to tell you all that. You've already proven to yourself of what you get whenever you get those things. You can't think for a second that the enemy is not trying to destroy or kill you. So that's the first thing that you have to do, guys. Whenever it comes to overcoming this temptation, you have to make a list of all the reasons of why your addiction is the enemy. I mean, everything from what it took from you, the relationships that it ruined, the job opportunities, the opportunities that you had in your life, whether you might have been able to be an athlete, whatever, everything that you can think of, all the bad situations that you put you in, all the people that it might have took from you, every single thing, heart-wrenching thing. I know it's going to be painful, but every single heart-wrenching thing that you can think of, you need to write it on this list of why your addiction is your enemy, guys. So whenever it comes down to this temptation, you're going to get these triggers that happen in your mind. You're going to go throughout the day, and because your mind has been in this deep learning process of learning that your addiction is your reward, it's going to start finding so many things in order to trigger your mind into desiring that so-called reward. So it's going to be all kinds of things that trigger the thought process of you going back to your addiction, to drinking or using drugs, whatever your addiction is. There's going to be so many things that trigger that. So trying to not be triggered, like trying to just put everything out of your mind or out of your sight that's not going to trigger you is damn near impossible. Now, I do recommend, if you're around things or those environments, then obviously get away from those. Like, for instance, I was riding with the guy the other day who was smoking cigarettes, and I was in some stressful situations, and I asked him to move his cigarettes from where I just kept looking at him when I kept looking down, because that was a lot harder in my mind to keep looking at them than it was to just not even see them. So what I'm saying is that you can try to control the amount of triggers that you see in yourself and in your reality and what's going on in your environment around you, but you're not always going to be able to do that. So what's happened is you're going to get triggered. And where the mind goes is it starts from this trigger process into this imagination process, right? So it's very, very important not to let your mind get into imagination mode. If you're going into imagination mode, then your brain's flooding with dopamine for desire. And then your point of desire, your level of desire is so high the level of the fight is so much harder at that point because that level of desire is so high and you have so much dopamine flooded in your brain expecting to get this reward, right? So in order not to get that flood of dopamine, in order not to go into that extreme desire where you're in that really tough fight, you have to start the fight from the very beginning. So the very moment, the very instant that you hear that thought process, that voice in your head that says this is a good idea or that tells you to do it, whatever it is that you feel that you desire that drug or that alcohol, whatever it is your addiction is, you have to immediately say no, okay? Within that first 5 seconds, you have to say no. Hell no, I do not want this. It has to be strong, like no. Even if you have to tell yourself no over and over and over again, then that's what you have to do. Because if you give in for a split second and you go into that imagination mode, then the fight's going to be so much harder. That's 75% of the battle you just lost right there, right? So don't let yourself go into imagination mode. You need to go into, once you say no, then you need to start thinking about all the reasons of why it's the enemy and then immediately distract yourself. So all that list that you wrote down of all the reasons that it's your enemy, take a picture of it. Do whatever you need to do to where you can access that information if you don't already have it memorized. So as soon as you say no, I need you to think about why it's your enemy and all the reasons why it purely disgusts you now. And what I need you to do is it needs to be kind of scare you, right? Because I need you to go into this flight or fight or freeze mode. You need to go into the most ancient part of your brain. The most ancient part, the oldest part of your brain is that fight or flight or freeze mode, right? So these are the things that you need to do. If you fight it back, and you distract yourself, then it might be where you have to sit still and then you're fighting it back by saying no and then reading a book or watching a video or whatever you need to distract your mind. By flight, then you're getting away from that situation. There's been times where I might just go take off, put on my running shoes and just start running, or I go straight to the gym. That's the flight. There's been times where I just freeze and I'm like, okay, if I just freeze and I don't do anything at all, if I don't get up out of this chair, then I won't go drink, then I won't go use drugs, whatever it is. Like if I just freeze and I don't do anything and I distract myself with something else, maybe if I meditate, that's an excellent way of describing freezing. So whenever it comes to distracting yourself, and all these different things in order to overcome this temptation, you're going to have all these different hobbies that you're going to build. You're going to have to build your social circle in order to have different people to call and talk to in order to, vent some of those feelings. That's some crucial parts and crucial key components part of this program. I'm not going to go into much further detail right now, but there's going to be a lot more further things that you're going to learn in this program in order to distract yourself from those thoughts of temptation. So within the first 5 seconds, guys, that's a crucial component because your mind, the way that it works with those neurons and the way that that electrical signal fires through those thoughts is that it's going to go into whatever habit that you have, like whatever repetitive thought process that you have, whatever way that your mind is hardwired. So when you say no within that first 5 seconds, then you're doing a pattern interrupt. You're interrupting that pattern. You're breaking that electrical signal. So it goes back to that: what fires apart, wires apart. What fires together, wires together. So that's how you build those new neurons and then those new synapses. That's how you build that new hardwiring, is by saying no within that first 5 seconds. Boom, you're breaking it, and then you're taking action in other ways, and you're putting your mind on other things and whatever else that you need to do with your hobbies, however you're distracting yourself and however you're reacting to that. So that's how you're going to build those new neural pathways, guys. So these are the techniques in order to overcome that temptation, guys. Like, no matter what you do, you gotta, whenever you build your social circle, you're gonna find people that you're gonna need to call. You're gonna have all these different resources and this checklist to go down that you can use, that you're gonna have to do before you go back and you relapse, before you go back to drinking or using or whatever your addiction is. Before you go back into that, you can go back into this mental checklist. But in order to overcome this temptation initially, guys, this is huge. I'm telling you, it works. Say no within the first 5 seconds. Immediately distract yourself on what's going on, and find the reasons of why it's the enemy. Once you find the reasons why it's the enemy, and you think of all the ways that it's not a reward, of all the ways that it's disgust you, the ways that it's trying to kill you, right? So when something is your enemy, like it's trying to get you guys, like you're going to be watching every corner you turn as something trying to kill you. And I explain it like this: like imagine if you lived in a small town and you happen to kill somebody's brother. Then they live in that small town with you and you're not going anywhere. You're there for the rest of the time that you're living in that town. You're going to be worried about that person, looking for that person's brother, because if they see you, they're probably going to get retaliation on you. So that's the way I kind of explain it, is like you always got to watch your back. You got to watch your back because it's always trying to find a way to make it okay. So there's always reasons that you're going to be able to think of why it's okay to use. You can find a million reasons. And that's one thing that I discovered, is like you're always going to find a way to sell yourself on reasons of why it's okay. But as long as the answer is no, no matter what, then that's your answer. No matter what situation you're in, this is not okay. And then as long as you say no within that first 5 seconds and you fight back, you use those primal fight, flight, or freeze techniques, and you refocus your thoughts, guys, then you're going to be okay. It typically only lasts like waves, like anxiety. It typically only lasts for about 30 or 45 minutes. So if you can distract yourself from that bad feeling of temptation for 30, 45 minutes and get past that, not only did you win right there, but you built that muscle. You became even stronger. That's why you hear so many addicts talk about, it gets easier as you go, because you're building that new neural passageway in your mind. And that's what's going to help you make that decision easier and easier over and over again. But it all starts with the first time, guys. So in the first time, you got to remind yourself, and throughout this process, you got to constantly be reminding yourself of your why and your purpose. And even if you don't know what your purpose is, you got to let it be to not let this pain and not let this addiction ruin you for the rest of your life. You got to win. You got to find a way to be successful. And you got to find a way to do whatever it takes to find the energy to do all these things that I'm telling you to do. Okay. So in the next sober training videos, we're going to have the reasons of why exercise is so important and what that does in the brain. And basically, guys, I'm trying to teach you guys everything necessary to have like a mental rehabilitation. Like your mind's been so fucked up in addiction. It's been beat up. It's weak. It's been destroyed. It's on its last leg a lot of times. And so what we have to do is kind of like whenever you put a person in physical therapy, we're going to put you in mental therapy. But it all starts with your desire and your will and the want to, right? And the way that you think, and changing the way that you think. And then the rest of this stuff that I'm going to be talking about, a lot of it is going to be your actions and what you're putting it in. And it's going to be help all these activities to help develop your mind and like I say, develop this new neuroplasticity and get your mind humming, like running like a strong engine. We're going to give this thing a tune-up. We're changing all the oils. We're changing all the fluids. We're getting this thing running strong again. And all these activities, all these things I'm talking about, this is all the ways to do that. So I want you guys, if you guys have any problems, just rely on these simple steps in order to overcome your temptations. I've made a little short video about this before. And if you want to really dig in, there's a lot of videos I have on YouTube that you can dig in, and you'll probably find some things there that might help you if this wasn't in specific. And I'm going to keep going into further videos and further detail about all the specifics I can think of in this program in order to help you guys. Now, it's not really like a one size fits all. Like everybody's different. Everybody's rate of speed of growth is different. And it's a lot different for me when I'm dealing with somebody one-on-one to be able to adjust and be able to all change that filter and help them change those behaviors in order to overcome the addiction than it is just to think of every possible thing I can think of and put it on videos for you guys so I can try to help the masses. So just remember, guys, that I love you guys. Like, I'm doing this shit for a reason. I believe in you guys. Like, I believe that you have it in everything in you that it takes to be sober. And I need you to believe in yourself. If I didn't believe that, guys, I wouldn't spend my time doing this. I wouldn't dedicate myself to doing this stuff, guys. So just remember that you are loved and that you have a purpose and that everything that you want in your life, it's real and it's right in front of you. And I want you to reach out and I want you to grab it and I want you to go get it. You guys have an amazing day. If you need anything, just hit me up on Messenger and I'll get right back with you.